All right, you guys, welcome back to the podcast and welcome to the podcast, Darian Kaia.
I am so freaking pumped to be here, even though we were literally just talking about how I sucked at responding to your DMs, but we made it work. So
No,
happy that we
it's
were able to.
great. I literally this morning I was recording a podcast on boundaries and how you need to figure out your ideal communication, like
Oh,
layout and
totally.
timing in places. And it's fine, whatever it is, as long as you communicate it. So I'm like, no problems on this
Oh,
end.
yeah.
Like I said, I love taking a while to get back.
Hey, honestly, props to you though for having boundaries. My boundaries are so off and on where it's like where I should have boundaries, I have none. And then where boundaries shouldn't exist is where I have
And
mine.
we're
And I'm always like, good, good, good. Like everything's backward, working just like my brain. So we're
You'll
on
you'll
it.
get there. I'm like, that episode is for you then. I'm like, I have
Oh, yeah.
very clear, I'm like actually an introvert. I love socializing, but I have to have like a shit ton of alone time to
Oh,
recharge. So my
totally.
boundaries around communication in my business have to be like so strict just so that I
Oh,
could like
totally.
still show up and have a good time.
Oh yeah, I understand that completely. Mine normally it's like I'm chill, but then say I'm laying in bed and it's like midnight and I get an inquiry for like some wedding in Spain. I'm like, oh shit, I gotta text them right now. And
That's
however,
tough.
that's worked out for me a couple times because it's like the quicker your response time, I have yanked some dream weddings from that. And they're just like, oh, you responded first. I'm like, fuck yeah, there
I
you go.
love that.
Nailed
Yeah,
it.
I feel like with boundaries, it literally is such a personal thing. And it's also like if you
Totally.
have the energy to do it, do it. Like I was just telling you too, I'm like, I don't work in the evenings and I also don't work on the weekends as like a hard rule unless I want to. Like it has to be like, I really want to do this. It sounds fun and exciting. So
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
I'm like, if you get that midnight inquiry and you're like, I want to do
Gotta take
this,
her.
do
Yeah.
it. Cause there's like such a different energy behind wanting to do something or being like, I have to do this. Like, I have to stay up till
Oh,
3 a.m.
completely.
editing.
Totally. Totally.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So, for those that don't know you yet, I'm like, I have a feeling we're going to chat quite a bit and I'm stoked. I'm like so excited to get to know you more. For those that don't know you yet, could you give us a little intro on yourself?
Yes. So I obviously, you guys already know this. My name's Darian Kaia, and I'm a destination international wedding photographer. I'm honestly, I take a different approach when it comes to like me in the photography industry. And I've learned this ever since I also host international workshops for photographers who like want to get into the destination market because honestly, domestic versus international is so completely different on a lot of different levels. And I kind of just went head in first when I first started. Like, I went straight into international. Like, it was like, I'm single, I'm young, fuck this. I'm getting on a plane and I'm leaving. And a lot of people are, that's like one of my number one draws to people is they're like, how the hell did you do it? And how the hell did you do it so fast? And honestly, it was kind of just the way that like my life fell in the sense of like I had been dating someone for 5 years, was getting ready to be like a D1 athlete, and then all of a sudden blew my hip out, broke up with my boyfriend, and was like, okay, so like, what are we going to do with my life now? And photography is one of those things that I was never passionate about it growing up. I never had the desire to be a photographer. And that's one of those things where so many people in this industry, it's like their ride or die. They are so in love with what they do. They like eat, sleep, breathe photography. And for me, I'm not like that. And I'm open and honest about that. Like, this career fell into my life when it was supposed to fall into my life. And I don't know if it'll be it for everything. If it is, then hell yeah. Like, I have fallen in love with it, but I don't allow myself to be like so emotionally involved to the point of where it's like I will exhaust myself, I'll run myself down, I will like boundaries, like what we were talking about. Like, it was never my dream to become a photographer, so I was able to create boundaries within this career right from the beginning. So I guess, yeah, I'm kind of the photographer that this is so fucking embarrassing. I was the dumb idiot who left my camera bag, my whole career, my laptops, my SD cards, my CF cards in a whole other side of the country, hopped on a plane. Yeah, no, it's that bad. Left the country, put my camera bag by the like wheel of the rental car. So then all of a sudden I had to call literally like one of my like friends and basically be like, hey, I'm on a plane right now. And I just realized mid flight once I woke up because it was 5 a.m. I didn't have a camera bag. Like, that was nowhere to be found. I was in the middle of Ohio. I've never been there before. And he ended up finding it. The cops took it because they thought it was a bomb, literally sitting next to this rental car that I just left. So I literally get to Minnesota. I had to get back on a flight, fly all the way back to Ohio, and it took 18 hours because there were no straight shots available. Yeah, it
My
was
brain.
no, for real. I'm the girl who's been attacked at a wedding. I like literally got beat up in a bathroom. Yeah. Everything that you would never
What?
expect to happen in this career has happened to me. So I honestly feel like I'm the comedian photographer where I'm like, you'll never believe the shit that just happened. Like 2 months ago, me and the groom got stuck up on top of a mountain for almost 3 hours. No service, no bride, no nothing. No one knew where anyone was. And I have the funniest videos from that day because the groom and I were like, we don't know what to do right now. Like, yeah, it was a
Oh
shit
my
show.
gosh.
Yeah, so I'm the chaos photographer who finds the bright side in everything because it's just like you can't not at this point. Like it's such a
Yeah.
funny career the way that it's happened for me because I've never been, like my dream is to be a photographer. Like I became a photographer, it fell into my life. I love it, but this is a shit that's happened to me while I've been a photographer, if that makes sense.
Oh, my gosh. Yes. I'm like, that
No,
just gives a whole other context to like the conversations around how being like chaotic it is to be a wedding photographer.
yeah.
Like it's insane, but I'm like, that's like a whole nother level. That's
Yeah. Yeah. I honestly, it's so funny. Some of my friends are like, you should write a book on it because half the shit that happens should never happen. But it's
no
like,
to
it
anyone.
happens
Like,
to me. I'm just like, I wish I had a reality TV show because, in the sense of like, it's so messy in a funny way when it happens that it's just like, I've literally become the comedic photographer. Like, people will follow me because they know that bad shit happens to me. And they're just like, it's entertainment. So,
wow.
yeah.
That's so I'm like my personal life is like that. We like all joke that I'm like a walking Murphy's
Seriously.
Law. Like anything that can happen does
Yeah,
happen to me. Weirdly,
totally.
work is the one area that doesn't get touched by that. So I'm like, this is wild to hear. That's
Yeah.
crazy.
Mine's probably the opposite, where it's like, it just is completely, I'll be on a plane, we get stuck on the plane for 8 hours, plane doesn't end up taking off, plane hits a bird, like everything that could happen happens. My
Happens.
luggage is always lost. It's always in a different country. And I'm like, cool, 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 cool. Like,
Nice.
nice.
Wow. Oh my gosh. Well, so many questions.
Seriously.
So many questions. Also, I just like one of my biggest things with the podcast is having a lot of people on that have like had different experiences, have different approaches, have different whatever. I think it's so important for everyone to hear lots of different journeys within the industry.
Totally.
I was a guest on a podcast like a month ago and it was the weirdest experience of my life. Like everything I said he would like disagree with and then like would argue
Oh,
with me. And I was like, why am I here? Like
why am I on
if
it?
yeah,
Yeah,
like if you know all the answers, why do you have guests? Like it was so odd.
totally.
So I want to touch on something you said because I have never heard someone say it before. So I want to learn all about it. You saying that you keep your emotions out of your business. And obviously, like
Mhm.
that is so different than everything that we hear. That's very different than my approach. And I love learning
Totally.
more about stuff that I don't relate to, like, because there's no right or wrong. It's
Totally.
just different. So can you talk to us a little bit more about that? Like, what does that mean to you?
Yeah. So don't get me wrong. It's not like I'm a stone cold bitch whenever I'm like at a
Yeah.
shoot, but it's just like if you, this is one of those things. So it's like my personal life, kind of like what you were saying, is like Murphy's Law in the sense that I've had a lot happen in my personal life. Like I have had to navigate a lot. I've had to navigate relationships. I've had to navigate relationships in my own family. Like my own personal life is another form of a roller coaster. Like they're both
Mhm.
two different roller coasters moving at different speeds, different times. Like my I don't internalize a lot, if that makes sense. Like
Mhm.
I can totally be the person where, say it's like I make a friendship in the industry, and this is something that I had to navigate, this last year. And she ended up, like bringing someone else into the friendship. And I was like, for me, I'm like, this other person is just toxic and I want absolutely nothing to do with it. And I have never had a problem being the person who's like, peace, I'm out. Like, I
Mm,
love you, I respect you, but like, I'm literally not even going to get emotional about this. Like, I'm gone until, things change. And I think I have, so when I started this career, I had just gotten out of a 5-year relationship. And honestly, the whole entire storyline of like me being in this career has like taught me a different lesson about love through every couple I've worked with, which has kind of been like a very healing in the sense of like, say this was an issue that you had with someone, like when you were with them. And then you meet this couple and they're telling you the story, and it's almost like they mesh of like how they worked it out, they figured things out, and then they moved past it. And when I like started learning that about how the career was affecting me personally, I was like, this is a total like healing chapter in my life in the sense that I'm going to learn something through every single person that I meet along the way. And I allowed it to be that. Like, I was not going to internalize the, shit going wrong in my life. Like, I find it comical at this point because it's just like, if you allow yourself to like sink into the mood of like, this is sad, this is depressing, like, totally like, and that's something that, people do struggle with and whatnot. But I like swore to myself that I was never going to be someone who allowed myself to like internalize like the hard things. Like, I would just figure out how to get past it, and then just be like clean slate.
mhm,
And that took a lot of hard work. Not to say I don't ever get, sad over things anymore, but it's just like, if say a client, like reaches out to you, they hire you and they're like, we're so in love with your work, we're this. And then 2 months later, you get a text and they're like, hey, we've decided to go a different route. Like, essentially, they're firing you or dropping you as their photographer. I have seen friends get like so hurt over that. And they're like, they don't love my work anymore. They don't this, they don't that. And I'm like, hell no. Like, if they don't want you, let them take someone else. Like, because you do not want to have to deal with the consequences of that in the long run. Like,
mhm.
you do not want them to come at you and be like, can you change your editing? Can you change how this is fixed? Can you crop this different? And it's like, your job and your photo is your artwork. So for me, I was like, I get to be proud of the stuff that I create and the shit that I do. And I don't honestly have to care about anyone else's opinion of what I do. Like, I get to be me. And I think that's kind of how I've pulled the clientele, that I have, where it's like, they love the carefree, they love the mess, they love the chaos, because it's like, I have portrayed myself as that person my entire like career span, in the sense of I don't show just the beautiful that happens in this job. I don't show the things that only ever go right. Like, I show people the mess because I'm like, this is real life. Like,
Mm,
I'm never gonna let people be like, oh, like, we're so sorry for you. And I'm like, hell no. I'm like, we're just gonna get past this and
we're
laugh.
just,
Like,
yeah, existing.
we are just existing. The world is moving around me. I'm like, probably just almost got hit by a car, but I'm chilling. Like, if that makes sense. So
Mhm,
I just try never to like take things personally, in the sense where it's like, if you are not the right fit for someone, let them go. Do not fight for them. Like, even if it's a money thing, I've just always trusted that like the right clients will come to me, and it's like I will be provided for, in the sense of like my finances, my this, my that. Like, I will attract the people that are meant for me, but I am never, ever, ever going to fight for a client, because it's
mm,
like, let them make the call and roll with it. Like, don't get butthurt over it. Like, don't get emotional. Don't be like, I'll drop my packaging, like, a shit ton of dollars. That way, you can have me. Or if it's international, it's a little bit different. Like, if it's a dream place I want to go, I'll be like, hey, I'll give you $1,000 off if you're able to help me out here. Like, in the
mm,
sense of like, provide stay, provide this, provide that. But it's
yeah,
like, in order to run a business, I think you honestly have to be so confident in yourself, which is hard for people. And I totally understand that. And I struggled with that too. But it's like, you need to be so damn set on who you are and like the product you're delivering and the personality that you want to give off, that it's like, you never ever have to feel like you have to be someone else. And so
mm,
that's how I've kept the emotion out of it, where it's like, I'm not going to contort myself to try and fit someone else's vibe of who they want me to be. I'm going to be me. And if they like me, they like me. If they don't, I really don't care. Like,
yeah.
I know that sounds stone cold, but it's like, I genuinely
I
don't care
don't
to.
think it is though. Like I don't think it is, because to me it's like if anything, it's like preventative in a sense
Yeah,
of like you said, it's like if they don't like you for who you are, you're either gonna have to fake it, which is miserable, or you're gonna have a disagreement, you're gonna have a misalignment on things, in which case
yeah,
both of you are gonna be miserable. So it's like I don't think it's stone cold to be like us not working together is a win for both of us. Like if we're
totally.
like I think people need to understand that like sometimes things can be different but not be good or bad. It's
Yeah.
just different and that's it.
Yeah. Well, it can literally just be a neutral decision. Like if you hear from someone, they're like, "Hey, you're not the right fit. Like we're so sorry, blah blah blah." Like don't internalize the fact that it's you. Internalize the fact
Mhm.
that you want them to get the photographer that they want and you want to be able to edit a product that you know isn't going to get questioned. And
Yes.
that took a long time to get to because I had enough instances where I was like, I'm so fed up of trying to like fix requests where it's like, this is not something I would ever do. So I finally was like, no, I'm not going to do this anymore. Like, I will meet the bride, I'll talk with them. I always go based off a text. Like, I am such a texter and it's such a bad boundary that I have. But it's
Not
like,
if you're good at it. I'm like, if you're good at
yes,
it, I have
if
like
I can,
400 unread texts. I can't do that.
oh, I shit you not. I would literally just looked at this a couple hours ago before I'm at 512. Yeah. Yeah.
But
Part
you
of that
like
is I do it
texting.
for people, but I like texting, but I
Okay,
also
I
like,
hate it.
see, I hate emails. I think they're so obnoxious. And I'm actually in like the process of buying a home right now. And this was not
Congratulations.
supposed to happen. No, for real. This was not supposed to happen. Came home from a trip, found the house within 2 hours, toured it within 4, had an offer within 6, and had approval within 24. However, part of my chaotic life is I leave the country in 2 weeks. So a normal buying process takes like 30 to 40 days. We're closing this shit down in 12 days. I don't even get the keys. My parents get them, and I'm leaving the country. So,
Love this
yeah,
for you.
no, for real. But like that is literally how I portray myself to my clients. And that's how like people who show up to my workshops, like I again have had to learn this boundary and this like line of where, and I get it, like, you know, people who are like type A, they're planners, like they want to know the whole sequence of what's going down. Me, no, I wing that shit. And it's not to say I don't have a plan, but it's to say shit's going to come up and it is totally going to mess around your plans. And you have to be okay with that. Like,
Mm.
it's something I try to tell brides all the time. I'm like, something's going to go wrong or you'll be behind schedule at some point. Just chill. Like, literally let it happen and you're gonna be fine. And that's part of the emotional part where I'm like, do not get caught up in your feelings about this. Like, just let it happen and it'll work itself out, you know?
Have you always been like this? Like, is it a personality thing or is this something that you had to like work to get to this point where you let things kind of roll off your back?
I think I've always, well, I had like a couple instances growing up where it was just like I grew up really fast, like
Mhm.
maturity wise. And I think then, like, as an adult, people have always thought I'm a lot older than I am. And it's just because the way that, like, I learned to handle myself at such a young age.
Mhm.
And I, I kind of just, I've seen so many friends in my life where, like, my career started when I was 18. Like, I was
Mhm.
a baby and I was traveling and I was like, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. I'm not a photographer. I'm not a this, but people are booking me. So I'm like, clearly I'm doing something right, but like, I
Mhm.
don't even know what I'm doing. And then I've also seen people where it's like their entire identity is in, for instance, like who they're dating, who they're with, what job they have. Like people put their identity in other like third party things. And I've seen so many people go through the emotional battle of like, well, who am I? And so
Mhm.
for me, when like my relationship ended, I was like, well, time to figure out who Darian is. And this whole career has kind of built me into like, I know damn well who I am, and I'm just not going to fight it. Like, I have
Mhm.
gotten to figure myself out, my chaotic life out, like what I'm like in a different country, my personalities that pop out, like my alter ego of like Becky the partier. Like, I've just gotten to figure out so many different sides to me where it's like, I almost let the career build me into who I am now. And it's
Oh, I love
become
that.
a confidence base where it's like my identity is not in my photography career. Like when people come up to me and they're like, oh my God, like I followed you for so long. I'm like, I promise you, I'm just a person. Like, you don't have to look at me in any other way other than the chaotic random life that like you get to see on Instagram. Cause like
Mhm.
that's true me. Like I
Mhm.
am never ever gonna show up. This is really bad. I'm never gonna show up to a shoot like all dolled up, like good clothing on, whatnot. It's like I'm showing up in my baggy ass Urban Outfitters sweatshirt, like yoga pants with probably a hole on the knee from like scraping it on something. Like I have just promised myself I'll be authentic through everything that I do. And that's like also what I want other girls who like get into the industry to realize that it's like it's okay. Like you don't have to put on this whole paint shield of this is what it looks like to be successful and professional. Like people are going to respect you for being you, and that's also what
Mhm.
people are going to book. Like
Yes.
I think people these days hire more personality versus product, if that makes
I agree.
sense.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think too, it's like there's truly no wrong way of showing up or doing things in your business
Oh, not
other
at
than
all.
legally. Like literally legal is
Right.
the only thing you have to
Right.
do. And other than that, as long as you set expectations properly, it's going to
Yeah,
be fine, right? Like it's like if I showed myself as this like really classy light and airy person that never swears and like only shops at Chanel, like yes, it might be jarring to meet me and I'm like swearing and I'm in like
totally.
all black. And, like yeah, that would be jarring, but
Right.
like you're saying when you just show up as yourself, you set expectations properly. Not only is that going to be well received, but it's probably going to be the reason someone actually hires you.
Totally. Well, and that thing too is it's like I had a bride literally call me right before this and she was like, "What are you doing right now?" I was like, "Oh, I'm literally sitting in the bank, like trying to sign some paperwork." And it's like she can hear the whole thing going on in the background, but I'm having this bride call and she's like, "I honestly like appreciate you just like taking the time, but also like not trying to sugarcoat or like butter me up whatsoever." Like I was like, "You get me for where I'm at in my life right now. Like I am not just gonna like," and I don't mean that in like a bad or like offensive way, but it's like
Mhm.
I just give people me as me. Like I am never going to try and show off or like parade someone like what is it called? Peacocking or
Oh my
whatever, where
God,
you're just like,
peacocking. Yes.
yeah, where you're just like, oh my God, look at me. Like I live this flashy, showy business travel life. It's like, no, if you saw the floor in my room right now, you would know that it's a clusterfuck of a mess. But yeah,
As it
that's
should be if you're in the middle of buying a home and you're like about to go out of the country. I'm like, my
exactly. I'm like, why even clean anything if it's just gonna like be transferred?
so
So
true.
I've just given up.
So true.
Yeah.
How has this like approach to your business and your clients and like showing up authentically? Like, how has that, like, are you friends with your clients? How do your client relationships usually work?
Oh my gosh. Insane. Like in such a fun way where it's like my clients who ever end up hiring me, I don't think I don't keep in contact with any of them. Like
Wow.
it's so fun. So like I had a bride, she's not even gonna care. She's probably gonna think this is hilarious. Her name's Sarah, and she eloped in Greece last year. Her and I talked every single day from the day she booked me until she literally texted me today. And wedding's done. It's been done since October. She just had a baby, everything, and it ended up being like a Greece baby, which is so cool. But her and I talked about everything unwedding related. Like she did not care about like we had hashed out the details of that package and then it was just like, when two personalities like click really easy. I
Mm-hmm.
feel like when you are your most authentic self, you also pull that clientele where it's like you guys are just going to mesh so
Mm-hmm.
well. And it's like I will go on trips with my brides. I had another bride who she got married in Jamaica last year. And basically, that resort, it was the Sandals Resort, which was like, a couple's resort, except
Yes.
all of his like groom's party was from London, and all of hers was from like Seattle. And we all spent a week together at Sandals, Jamaica. So just imagine how close everyone was at the end of
Yeah.
that trip. Like there were 50 of us. I hang out with the bridesmaids from that wedding whenever I go to California. Like I I never want to be seen as like an untouchable. Like, you know how some vendors sometimes can be so damn professional that it's almost a turn off? Like,
Mm-hmm.
in the sense of communication wise, like, you just know if you send a text, you feel like you're bothering them. My
Mm-hmm.
brides don't give two shits about when they text me. It's like, it'll be 2 a.m. and they know I'll respond when I respond. Or it'll be 2 a.m. and my insomnia is picking up and we'll just FaceTime like at 2 a.m. Like, when people hire me, like they get a friend, they don't just get a vendor. And But I also have brides who it's like we'll talk once a month, and I have brides where it's like we talk all day every day. Like,
Mhm.
but then they become such genuine, authentic like friends where it's like I'll have them at my wedding someday because of the impact they've had in my life. Like,
That's
it's
so
one thing I tell
beautiful.
them all the time where it's like I'm so excited to have like, because I have no clue. Lord knows I ain't getting married anytime soon. But like I'm so excited for the day that it's like I get to have my couples who were so impactful in my life and still are at my wedding. Cause it's like, again, you learn something through every single one of them. But I've also had some of the funnest experiences of my life with those couples, or
Mm.
with the groom and I who got stranded at the top of the mountain, or the bride and I who decided to go clubbing at 3 a.m. the night before her wedding in Greece. Like that's
Stop.
literally what we did. Yeah.
That's
So
amazing.
it's so fun, but I don't really necessarily have a boundary when it's like when you click with someone like that, like I just let it be. I'm not going to be like, "Hey, I'll respond in business times," which a lot of people disagree with. That like
Mhm.
they're like, "How do you separate work and personal?" My work ends up becoming personal in the sense of not emotionally, but it's like they end up becoming such good friends that it's like I have no issue responding to them when they text me. And like I said, we don't even talk about weddings most of the time. Like, it's like, who are you dating? Who are you doing this? What's going on here? Like, tell us the tea of your life. And I'm like, girl, lots to catch up on here. Like
I
I'm just
love that
authentic.
though.
It's so fun. Yeah,
Yeah, I think that's like such a beautiful testament to again the like there's no right or wrong. It's literally just like for some people that would be draining and for you it's not. And like how
totally.
cool is it that you get to shape this business in a way that like truly fulfills your life? And like if you are someone that wants relationships with your clients like this, you don't have to have these traditional boundaries that people preach. Like those things are only helpful if they're things that actually help you and like add to your
Yeah.
life.
Totally. Well, I have another bride too. It's like her and we've texted every single day for probably 2 years, and she's my age. So it's like we have like a good friendship because we're in similar age ranges. But we're actually all spending like 2 weeks together in London in the next like couple weeks because they're moving there for her to get her master's. And so her and her husband and I have all become such good friends because we're all in the same age range that it's like I'm staying at their apartment with them. We've already planned trips together while we're in London. Like it's so fun when you like truly find. I'm like trying to figure out how to say this. I was never the kid, I'm going to bounce my ADHD. I was never the kid growing up where it was like I had like such a core group of friends. Like I have always been protective of my heart in that sense where I'm like I will allow people who bring like life and light and health into my life, and I will cut you if you do not. Like I have no
Mm.
issue getting you out of my life. And that might be the part that sounds like, a little harsh, where I'm like, I will drop you like it's nothing, in the sense of if
That's
you are
me.
bringing in like, yeah, but it's like people who get it, and people who don't are like, that sounds really heartless. And for me, I'm like, no, it's protective. Like it's a protective instinct. And I have just always kind of believed that like the right people will come into your life at the right time, and I'm never going to fight it. Like same thing with a relationship. Like I do not go out seeking. I'm going to trust the fact that it'll happen when it's supposed to, and my identity does not have to be in that aspect of my life. And it's the same thing with like the job that I've literally met all of my best friends, like my core group of six. It's like I've gotten one or two of them almost every single year where we all support each other. We all like, they're not all in the wedding industry. Some of them are clients, some are bridesmaids, but it's like you click with the right people when you do. And it's like I've found my core group at the right time in life, which is something I'm so thankful for this job, where it's like, yeah, you can set boundaries, but if you also are like open to where maybe the right people will be thrown into your life. Like it's never a bad idea just to like keep an eye out of like, who am I going to meet now?
Mhm. Oh,
That
I
makes
love
sense.
that. And like what a beautiful I this is so enlightening and I think one so beautiful, so cool to hear like such a different perspective. Because I think so many people take myself included like the art as
Mm-hmm.
like their thing, like the actual photography itself. And I love that for you, it's more like that's a channel in which you
Yeah,
get to like have such a beautiful part of your life fulfilled by meeting these beautiful people. Um, wow.
totally.
I'm like, I wish I had another question, but I'm just like, that's so beautiful. And I also think like, I'm like, even I who is very introverted and definitely couldn't text everyone all the time. I'm like, this is so beautiful to even think like, yeah, how can I get to know my couples better and like build a genuine
Mhm.
relationship with them in which we get to contribute to each other's lives in a really significant way. Like that's so cool.
Well, it's also one of those things too where like once you like allow it to happen, like for instance, like I'm the type of person I will flip you shit left and right. Like because I almost expect you to do it back to me. Like
Hmm.
that's my like humor and my personality where it's like try to hurt my feeling, I dare you. And I say feeling as in singularly because my parents have joked about that with me for a long time. Like I have one feeling that people get to see on the outside and like the rest of them, like I just kind of keep to myself. But I'll joke with like grooms or whatever, where they'll say something to like joke around, and I'm like, hurt my feeling, like I dare you. But it's like in a funny way where when you get close to like, I think a lot of people are like, yeah, I talk to the bride all the time. I talk to, like the bridesmaids, and I'm like, I'm a groomsman's girl. Like I full blown, I've always had guy friends my entire life, but it's like, you know how a lot of people sometimes will be like, it's so hard for me to get the groomsmen to open up, like,
Mm,
because they're so close with the bride and the groom. I'm almost where it's like I talk to the bride a lot, but I'm like on a wedding day, like I'm a groomsman's girl. Like I will take
really?
shots with the boys beforehand. I will flip them shit. Like I am able to connect with them so easily where it's like you just get candid, authentic moments because it's like my humor almost like resonates with them a lot more. And they
Mm,
know that like keeping things non-emotional, they can flip me shit and be funny, and I will flip it right back even quicker. Like, and I think that's one thing that's helped me like find success in like the way that I shoot and like the way that like I can work with a couple is it's like I make sure that to resonate with both of them. Like
mm,
I make sure the bride is seen and heard because yeah, clearly she's probably the one who like picked you out. But I also make sure that that groom is seen and heard because then he'll probably tell the groomsmen like, "Oh yeah, like our photographer is like she's dope as hell, she's funny, like she's charismatic." And then they feel like they can resonate with you on a wedding day too.
mm.
So that's one of the things where it's like I think I drop the professional side of things where I'm just like, we're gonna be friends throughout this whole process. I'm gonna be a part of a lot of moments of your life, most likely. So I'm just like,
Yeah.
screw it. We're having fun with this shit.
I
Like,
love
enjoy
that.
it. Yeah.
I'm like, last question before we wrap up. I have so many questions, but I'm like, not to sound like every person from New York or LA ever, but I'm like, what is your sign? Are you a fire sign?
So funny story. I like literally couldn't tell you. I know I'm a fish, whatever the fish is. A Pisces.
What? You're a Pisces.
Yeah. I'm a Pisces.
Really? That's
Yeah.
fascinating. That makes
What
sense
would you
on the
guess
like,
I am? Like I
I would have
couldn't tell
guessed
you
you
any
were
of
a
the
fire sign. I would have guessed you were a fire sign because you're so fiery. Pisces are very like, I will say water signs are very like if you mess with them, you're cut off. Like you are
Oh,
blacklisted to
100%.
no second chances. So that makes
Yep.
sense to me. But the
Yeah.
fieriness of it all, I would have guessed that you were something else, like an Aries or I'm a Sagittarius. I'm like,
Oh,
that
hell
would
yeah.
make sense.
Wait, is that
Yeah.
the horse?
Yeah.
I okay. So see, I like don't know the
It's you
names
just
of
doing the
all
symbols, which I love. You're like the fish, the
of them.
crab, the
The fish,
horse.
the horse, the goat with the horns, whatever the hell that one is. It's not like a Capricorn or something. I
Yes,
just
I think so.
I lost a bet with a bride and she made me take an Enneagram test. And I was like, I am not spending the money or sitting down for an hour to like answer questions about myself. And she was like, okay, we'll make a bet on it. I lost the bet. And do you know anything about that? Because even I
I
don't. I just
I
know what
like
number.
know my Enneagram. What was your number? Were you 7?
She said you're the bitch number. And then I was like, what does that mean? And apparently it means that you're an 8. But
An
I don't
8. Huh. Interesting.
know.
I don't know any. I like know
More
mine.
so, more so because I think it means like you're just like super protective in the sense of like you're protective of your
Mm.
friends. You don't let people cross you. Like I'm just like gung ho, like let's roll.
Oh my God. Well, thank you so much for coming on. This was so fun. You're so fun.
Oh
And
yeah.
this
Thanks
was
for
like
having
so
me.
helpful and like such amazing insight too. So thank you so much for sharing.
Hell yeah, of course. Any
Um,
literally anytime. I'm sure we could go on for
Oh my
hours.
gosh.
That's
Yeah, no, I'm like, we'll do like a quarterly catch up and just
hell
one.
yeah.
I want to hear about what's happened because I'm sure there will be no end in sight to your list of
She's
things that have
arrested
happened.
in Spain, like, some random shit like that.
Honestly, I resonate so hard. I'm like, that is what my personal life is like. Like, it's comical. Like, every
Oh,
single day, something will literally blow up that's like life altering. And I'm like, Slay.
Oh,
That's great.
I know. For real. Well, I like not to then you can totally hang up on me.
No.
We were in Spain like last year after my elopement in Greece, and I was with a
Mhm.
friend and I was like, "Isn't Spain where you're supposed to skinny dip?" And this is so random, but I literally was like, "Screw it. I'm doing it." Cop comes rolling up and he's like, "You're at a family beach." And I'm like, honestly, there's a testament to my life. Couldn't tell
I
you where the
also
went.
got caught skinny dipping in Spain last summer.
Shut
Last
up.
summer. Yeah, I'm like, when were you there? I was there in July.
I was in Mallorca. Where were
Oh
you?
shit. It was in Ibiza that I got caught. So we were very close.
I'm sorry, you can't skinny dip there
No, so
in
I
Ibiza?
was I was at a resort, but I was at what
Oh,
is it called?
slay.
I was at like the big party resort. Like we stayed in our room and the resort was the one where David Guetta has his residency and that's why we stayed there. So it was like a gigantic
Lame.
party. Yeah, I'm like I need to find the name. Feel like you would love it. And we decided to skinny dip. I'm like I don't usually talk too much about these things on the podcast, so I'm like enjoy everyone. We decided to take a
Oh,
time
for real.
lapse because we were like fun, we're like skinny dipping under the stars
Yeah.
in Spain, and same thing, it's a time lapse and you see these like blur orange bodies go into the water and then suddenly you just see a flashlight like flashing back and forth,
Yep.
and he was like get out and we were like okay, but we're naked. Like, what are we supposed to do, sir?
Right.
We don't want to like get out, but and you can just see the time lapse of these orange bodies like holding
Yep.
themselves. Like, so
Yep.
yes, I'm like, I don't know how we did that at the exact same time, but also got in trouble in Spain for skinny
Hell
dipping.
yeah.
So
Which is
just be
literally
known,
the place you're
everyone.
supposed to be able to do it, but it's fine. It's
No,
whatever.
literally, I'm like, the beaches are topless. Why can't I also have my bottoms off in the dark? It makes no sense at all.
Yeah.
Like,
100%.
where's the logic? I'm like, my boobs were out all day in broad daylight in front of children. Like,
Yeah. But
it
don't
doesn't make
worry,
any
at
sense.
night when it's dark, not allowed.
Yeah, the bottoms have to be on at all times. That's my
No,
lesson for
for
everyone.
real. For
Oh my
real.
gosh. Well, thank you so much, Darren, for coming on. We will obviously link everything in the show notes, but can you tell people where they can find you on the internet?
Yeah. So obviously my Instagram is Darian Kaia Photography. It's there's a lot of A's and a lot of I's.
We will
And
link.
I also post giveaways. So there's like 8 fake Instagrams of Darian Kaia spelled differently. So just look for the one with the most followers, and I'm sure you found me. But other than that,
Oh
no,
my
for real,
gosh.
every time I type it in, like 8 of me pops up, and I'm like, what the hell? Knock it
That's
off.
so interesting. Yeah, what are you doing? Oh my gosh, that's
No.
so funny. Okay,
But
well,
yeah.
we will link that all for you guys in the show notes. And thank you so much, Darian, for coming on.